Lots to talk about. Spencer Arrighetti, Corey Seager replacements, and the Yankees bullpen. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Thursday, September 5th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and do want to give a shout out to Shota Imanaga and the Cubs, who combined for a no-hitter, but it doesn't really change much for fantasy baseball. So let's move on to some other matters and talk about Spencer Arrighetti, who did not finish the first inning. At the Reds, he gave up 6 hits, 9 earned runs, 3 walks, gave up a homer in this start. Obviously, a just disastrous outing. Negative 21 fantasy points on CBS, but we know he was tremendous in his previous 9 starts before this one. Scott, what do we do with Spencer Arrighetti after a start like this? Do you hold him? Do you spike drop him? Are you still going to start him next week against the Oakland A's?
I am never in favor of a spike drop because you're that's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Is that how the expression goes? But it was bad. I understand. Like, this may wreck your season. It was such a bad start. Now, there is some hope that maybe these 9 earned runs get reduced to 3 earned runs, because that's how many had come in with 2 outs in the first before a ground ball up the middle was clearly misplayed by Jeremy Pena. And we could see that get changed to an error after the fact, fingers crossed, which would make it 3 earned runs instead of 9. That'd be great. But presuming it's 9, even if it ends up 3, it's not a great start, obviously. Arrighetti didn't make it out of the first. It's bad. It's bad how things played out here. But it doesn't erase all the good work he's done to build up our confidence in him. 3 of his last 5 starts, double-digit strikeouts, including against the Phillies last time. I think Spencer Arrighetti is legitimately talented and has a bright future, has earned his place in fantasy. And if you do survive beyond this week, you chalk this one up to just one of those starts. He's facing the Oakland Athletics next time. Favorable matchup. I think I'd be inclined to use him in most cases. Obviously not as reflexively as I started him this time, but in most cases, I think I'd still use Arrighetti.
It was a big day for news items as well. Let's get into Corey Seager, who was placed in the IL with hip discomfort. Turns out, the load management was a little bit more than that as the Rangers were leading on. We do need some replacements, and 2 names just to check for in the shallowest of leagues. Dansby Swanson is 80% rostered. Xavier Edwards is 78%. Scott, who do you like more between those 2?
I like Dansby Swanson. Actually, scratch that. I like Xavier Edwards. The reason I said Swanson is because I just put out an article, 20 hitters and pitchers to pick up for the final 3 weeks. And the Cubs have the most favorable hitter matchups during that time. Swanson's been great since the start of August. So I do think he's a priority pickup if you need shortstop help in general. But the fact that Xavier Edwards is rostered in the same percentage of leagues as him, more or less, that seems crazy to me. I don't know why people dumped him over a short-term injury. He was looking like an absolute stud before then, and he would be the priority between the 2.
Some shortstops available in a few more leagues than those other 2. Mason Wynn, 72% rostered, or Tommy Edman, who is 57% rostered.
Yeah, they're both on that list too of hitters to pick up for the final 3 weeks. I do have a preference for Wynn over Edman just because I think you have a better idea what to expect.
And if you need a middle infielder in a slightly deeper format, Brooks Lee, Geraldo Perdomo, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Paul DeJong, and Jose Tena, all 31% rostered or less. Any names stand out there?
Lee almost made the list. Good matchups for the Twins. He's obviously not very proven for fantasy, so it's hard to know what to expect. Jose Tena is probably close to my next choice. I don't remember all the names exactly, but Jose Tena I know is highly under-rostered, and I have a lot of hope for his skill set.
Let's wrap up by talking about the Yankees bullpen. Aaron Boone said that they will get creative with the closer role going forward. Clay Holmes obviously leads baseball with 11 blown saves at this point. Any of Luke Weaver, Mark Leiter Jr., Jake Cousins, Tommy Canley, or maybe even Luis Heel could be in the mix for saves for the Yankees. Scott, what are you doing with Clay Holmes in fantasy? And Do you have any lean here on who could get saves?
Not a strong one. I think it's going to be a lot of mixing and matching. Maybe Aaron Boone settles on one guy eventually, and maybe it's Clay Holmes because he comes to realize as many saves as he's blown, he is their most talented reliever. I think that's certainly a plausible scenario in deep leagues where saves are scarce, in leagues where you've continued to stash Paul Sewald and David Bednar, for instance. I think you got to keep stashing Clay Holmes, too, for the same reason, just in case he does move back into that role. In the meantime, if you got to speculate on somebody and it's not Luis Heel because he's probably widely rostered himself, I feel like Tommy Kahnle has been the eighth inning guy most consistently of late. It is true that Jake Cousins has a great strikeout rate, though I believe he's allowed a run in 3 straight appearances. So I don't know if his trust level is at an all-time high. One of those two, Tommy Kahnle and Jake Cousins.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.